Identify what makes you feel really alive and then consistently do those things on the regular. Not, oh, once a year or I love doing that. The last time I did that was 5 years ago. No, do it regularly. Life is too short. From solo traveling, I learned a lot about myself. I always encourage people to travel alone. There's no faster way to getting to know yourself than traveling by yourself for an extended period of time. And it could even be within your backyard, BTW. You don't have to go to some crazy foreign country to do this. But too many people don't know themselves as well as they should. And it wasn't until I regularly started solo traveling that I really started to learn a lot about myself. But one of the things that became really important to me is identifying those things. What are the things that really make me feel alive? Like, this is living. Because I simultaneously also see people being like, oh, traveling is living. I feel so alive when I travel. And I'll be like, oh, when did you take your last trip? Where was it? And I'll be like, oh, like 5 years ago, I took this trip to, and I'm like, well, what about recently? And they'll be like, no, that was my last trip. And I was like, nah, man, life is too short. Like, figure out what makes you feel alive, big or small, and do those things regularly. For me, the list is long. It can be anything from dancing with my hair down, cutting a rug on the dance floor at a nightclub and not caring about what anyone else thinks. It could be riding a motorcycle with my hair down, and there's a hair down thing, a little theme going on here. Riding a motorcycle way too fast. It could be riding my road bike going 47 miles an hour, racing down Hawk Hill in San Francisco. It could be skiing down a double black diamond at Snowbird in Salt Lake City. What makes me feel alive is riding my moped, sometimes with people on the back of it, while exploring a new country. I did that with Stacy in Tulum. Or what else makes me feel alive? Flying my drone, seeing the best view from the house. Like, I've written down this list for myself so that I know what these things are and I can check myself and to make sure I'm regularly doing them. What are the things that make you feel alive? And are you doing them regularly? Know yourself and live. Live this life big, because we only got one of them. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Badassery. I'm your host, Christine Lozada. This is a unique episode series in that in 40 days, I turned 40. It could be 40 years young. A lot of people are like, oh, wow, like you're way older than I thought. And I'm like, yeah, man, I act like I'm 12. And, do a lot of things to act like I'm still in my 20s. And other people are like, oh, wow, like, you're so young. Like, oh, you have your whole life ahead of you. And I do believe in that, but I also don't believe that tomorrow is guaranteed. And so I was, at first I was like, no, I should wait until I'm 50 or some other milestone to share the things that I've learned. And why wait? Why wait? Right? And so I'm splitting this up into, I don't know how many. We'll see how it goes here. I'm splitting up this series, but I'm sharing with you 10 of the 40 things I've learned coming up till 40. And I just shared with you number 40, which, by the way, if you're new here, I'm Christine Lozada. This is a podcast meant to inspire you to be just 1% more badass today than you were yesterday. Because, those big moments that we have in life come because the small moments help to give us the guts to take the jump or to take the step or to take the risk when the big moments show up. Because when those big moments show up, sometimes I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about some of those big moments I had where I'm like, oh my God, should I do this? And it's like, yes, you have that quick moment in time to make that decision. And if you don't make it, you might miss it. And so I don't want you to miss the big badass moments in your life because you may not have had the guts. We got to practice and flex that badassery muscle to be ready for those big moments. Because like I said, we only got one life. All right. Let's dive into the next one. Number 39, break up with people. Break up with people. I was recommended a book, which I really love. It's like The Art of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I've talked about it a few times on this podcast, but it's really about how to make your house and organize all your belongings so that everything is in its place. And really what I took away from that book is, you got to organize and clean up the people you have in your life, because who you invite in can really affect your quality of life and who you are and who you become. You must be the gatekeeper of who you let in and who you do not let in. And I love this thing I heard from Mel Robbins. Too often people think that the length of a friendship equals the strength of a friendship. Time does not equal quality. Time with a relationship with someone does not necessarily mean you should continue to keep that person in your life. And so I had a moment in my life in which I took that opportunity to jump out of a relationship, i.e. my previous marriage. And during that time, I had to clean up house because I realized that there were people I really care about that did not support my divorce, who did not agree with my choice, or who were so heartbroken because they loved my relationship. It really was an awesome one. And they were just so upset about it. And I realized, it might not be forever, but for now, that relationship is going on the shelf. And I'm going to Marie Kondo tidy up the people in my life. And one thing I encourage you to do is hold each person that you spend a lot of time with in your heart for a moment and think about how that person makes you feel. And on that same note, also tell them how they make you feel. You got to make sure the people you love know that you love them. And at the same time, also ask yourself, does this person have the right place in my life? And the answer hopefully is yes in every instance. And sometimes it might be no. And sometimes you got to break up with people. Tidy up your life. Number 38, stop shooting yourself to death. Stop shooting on yourself, because it's the same thing as shitting on yourself. There are too many shoulds, especially in the country we live in and in our society. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Oh, you should absolutely be. Oh, you know what you should do? Yeah, you know what? What you should do is whatever the F you want to be doing. Like the shoulds. There are so many shoulds in a single day. As you are having conversations with people, count how many times people are telling you what you should be doing. Or more importantly, count how many times you are telling yourself what you should be doing. I should be eating this. Oh, I shouldn't feel that way. Oh, I shouldn't be tired right now. Oh, whatever it is, right? Feel what you feel. We are freaking human beings. Like, you should just be feeling what you are currently feeling or doing what you're currently doing, as long as that thing is what's making you happy and is helping you to progress in the direction you want to be going in life, whatever that means. I remember I had a moment. I was living in New York City, and someone who I used to work at my corporate career with asked me to connect with her over just a quick walk and a chat in the park. And we were outside, and she was in a sales position, I was in a marketing position. We were both making good money. We were living it up in New York City. Great place to be in Manhattan. And she was like, I wanted to ask you your opinion. I want to leave the corporate world, and I want to start my own business. And it wasn't just starting any business. She wanted to basically be someone who helped people with their sex lives. And you know what? Most people told her that she should not do that she should not leave her great corporate career. And who the heck is that kind of a role anyway that's helping people with that kind of stuff? And for me, I was like, why not? You should do whatever you want, because you know what? If you don't, then how are you going to feel later in life when maybe that opportunity has passed, or you're not in a position in life to have less responsibilities and take a risk like that? You should do it. You should do it if your heart tells you yes. And you know what she told me? She was like, you're the only person that's encouraging me to do it. And I'm like, your shitty sales job, it wasn't a shitty sales, it was a great sales job. I was like, that job will be there. If it doesn't work out, come back and you'll be literally right back to where you started. And if not, you'll find something else that's similar to it, and your later life will look pretty similar to what you're doing now. So it's like, why not take the risk? Do it. Do it. Do the thing. If it's speaking to you, if you're wondering about it, too many people are too scared to take the jump. And what you should be doing, let me should on you, is you should be listening to your heart and your gut around what you really want. Because too often we're looking to other, I should have that car, I should have that degree, I should by this age, I should have this much in my 401k and be owning this kind of property and blah, blah, blah. Life is too short. Do what you want to be doing. Don't should on yourself. All right, number 37. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Treat yourself and laugh at yourself. Oh, there's a lot to unpack in this one. I'm actually going to start with an example. And this goes back to the shoulds, right? Listening to yourself and how often you're shoulding on yourself in a day. Also, just listen to how you talk to yourself. I recently got, this was not recently, this was like 3 years ago. I got certified for a nitrox advanced scuba diving, blah, blah, blah. And I was in the car with the instructor. And simple mistake. It was very early in the morning. We were rushing to get to the dive site because high tide was going to pass quickly. We needed to be in the water before high tide started. And she forgot her scuba tank at the tank refill station place. And so we had to drive back. Driving back, I mean, this whole ordeal would have taken an additional 8 minutes. We're fine. Like 8 minutes is fine. And she just started to berate herself. Oh my God, you always do this. You're so stupid. Like, how could you forget? You're so forgetful. And it just went on the entire 8 minute ride. 8 minutes is a long time when it becomes this kind of a conversation. It went on the whole 8 minute ride. And I was like, yo, girl, do you hear yourself? Like, if I were talking to you in this way, you should slap a bitch. Like, you should slap somebody if they're talking to you this way. You should not talk to yourself in this way. You know, what else could you have said? Oh my gosh, like, oops, I'm so sorry. I forgot this, like, simple mistake. Let's go grab it real quick and then move on. Like, focus on the next thing. But like, to really bash yourself in that moment for such a simple thing, how else is she speaking to herself in that day? And I became very conscious over time, especially when I moved out of, I had this very especially when I used to be in fitness. I used to be a group fitness instructor for almost 20 years. And I was very conscious about the way I looked. Why? Because, anywhere from 20 to 150 people are looking at you while you are sweating profusely. And if you're not really in shape and you're a fitness instructor, well, then you're probably not doing a good job. So I was very conscious of the way I looked. And over that period of time in my life, I would, every time I'd, pass a mirror or see my reflection when I was walking on the street or something like that, I would comment in my head around how I looked, like, oh, I look good right now, or like, oh, I look strong right now. But a lot of times it was like, oh, I look fat, or like, oh, these pants look awful on me, or like, oh, my arms look flabby. Fill in the blank with all the things like we could possibly say to each other. Love yourself, treat yourself, and become conscious of the little angel or devil that's on your shoulder talking to you, and how do they talk to you, and how might you want to change the script on that? One of the things I think about a lot when I find myself not encouraging myself is if I were, and then fill in the blank with someone you love, if I were Meatball, how would I be talking to myself right now? What would he say to me right now? And, like, oh, you got this. Like, oh, you look beautiful. Like, oh, like, focus on something positive, or, like, still be truthful with yourself, but love and respect yourself and treat yourself with dignity. Too often the voices in our head are freaking mean. And it's really important that, and going back to, I encourage everyone to solo travel. When you learn a lot about yourself, you can learn the little nuances of what you really love about yourself. And then you start to have a better relationship with yourself. The most fun person that I love to travel with and like giggle the most with, tell the most jokes with, talk a lot of shit with if it's appropriate, love to have a glass of champagne with, love to go dancing with, have an adventure, hike something big, go fly a drone with her is myself. is me. I love spending time with myself. Yo, I don't need a man. I love Meatball. I love having a man in my life. I love all my friends and I love all my family, but I really genuinely enjoy spending time with myself. Like, yo, I laugh at myself and with myself all the time. And when you can spend your life 24/7 with someone that you love being with, yourself, it totally flips the script on like how you journey through life. Because it's not just traveling. I mean, I travel a lot, but even on the day-to-day, sitting in my office at Meatball's house right now, like, me, myself, and we're having a real nice time over here. So number 37 is love yourself, respect yourself, talk to yourself well, treat yourself. I went and got a massage the other week. It was really nice. I didn't really like the masseuse, but anyway, it was still fine. And I laughed at myself because I had lines on my face afterwards, and it looked like I got a massage, and I was like, let's go to the grocery store, pick up groceries, and see how many people notice all these lines on my face. Why not? It'll be funny. We can count. It'll be a game. Anyway, that's 37. 36. Realize you are not perfect, and that's perfect. Realize you're not perfect, and that's perfect. Think about this. If you feel like you're a bit of a perfectionist, ask yourself, when was the last 5 times, okay, not even 5, 3 times, you felt that you did something perfectly? Really? Come on, think about it. The last time I did something perfectly was, I got one. I filled my glass of champagne all the way to the rim. It was perfectly at the top, such that there was like a little bubble on the top, and I had to like put my lips to it and like sip it before I could pick it up. And that's not perfection, right? What I'm trying to say is we strive for perfection when perfection doesn't exist. I gave up trying to be a perfectionist. And as soon as I let that go, it just opened up so much energy and space and lightness in my life. I will actually write at the bottom of a lot of my emails, I didn't bother proofreading this, so if you didn't understand the point, send me a text message or a voice text or something, and we can go from there. It's like, good enough is exactly that. It's good enough. We think of good enough as being like not good enough. Like good enough is good enough. Like, accept that and understand your boundaries around what is good enough, and also think about the number of times you actually reached perfection. When I think about the times in my work, in my career, in my work as a creator, how many times did I actually finally create something perfectly? I think I have like 548 videos on my travel YouTube channel, maybe like 100 something, maybe 200 on my drone channel. Not a single one of those videos is perfect. Not one of them. There's something wrong with each of them. But if I spent more time trying to get to perfection, I would spend an infinite amount of time, and I probably would have put out 0 videos if that was my goal. So realize you are not perfect, and that is perfect. Give up on perfection. Ugh, I hate perfection, and I'm not a perfectionist at all anymore. 35, speak your mind. Speak your mind. And you should say, it's a free country. I mean, that's an amazing thing that we live in America, and that we can say the things that we want to say if we want to say them. But in the context of what I'm talking about here is, because I lived in cities and in corporate worlds that you should act a certain way, you should, hold yourself in a certain way, you should say this or not say that, right? Corporate speak is the most disgusting, per our conversation, blah, blah, oh God, it's disgusting. In the context in which I'm talking about, speak your mind, we spend a lot of time. Like, I bet you could come up with an example right now. Think about a recent experience you had where you're like, I should have said, or think about a specific recent time where you're like, I wish I would have told them that, like, fill in the blank. Whether it was an experience in which you were mad and you wish you told someone that you were hurt, or that what they did was wrong, or fill in the blank with whatever it is. Don't hold back in those moments, because then you hold that inside. And when you have the guts to speak your mind in those instances, life becomes different, because you hold life by the balls, and it doesn't even have to be when you're mad. I told someone that I was absolutely in love with him, and he didn't believe me. And I was like, no. And I laid out my case as to why I was absolutely in love with him. We never had an actual relationship, and I'm sure he's doing fantastic now. But I'm really glad I told him, because he's an amazing human being, and I wanted him to know how I felt. Was he one of the ones? Probably. Is he the one now? No. Do I know where he is? No. But I'm glad I spoke my mind in that moment. I even in my own relationship with Meatball right now, there might be instances in which, he doesn't know. He's from the freaking Bronx. He'll say something to me, and I'm like, yo, that hurt my feelings. That hurt. Don't ever do that again, or don't say that again. He'll be like, oh, really? So sorry. And he'll apologize, give me a hug and a kiss or something like that. And too often, in our relationships, whether with our significant others or our friends and family or whomever it is, you just hope. You hope they know how you feel. I was making eyes at that guy in the club. I hope he knows how I feel. Nah. Go go speak your mind. That's the reason why I'm with Meatball right now. I saw him singing along to every obscure rap and hip hop song in the nightclub while I was traveling in the Caribbean. And I went up to him at the end of the night and was like, yo, who are you, and why do you know all these lyrics? Sit down and tell me your name and why. And that was the first conversation I ever had with him. Fast forward 5 years later, here I am, having taken over his home and turning it into my office and recording studio. Thank you, Meatball. All right, 34. Say what you mean and do what you say. Why is this so hard? Why is this so hard for people? The older I get, and by no means am I saying that I am 40 years old or young, but just in my experience, especially having, surpassed my 20s, why is it so hard to find the quote real ones, the real ones? When I connect with a person, I'm like, this is a truly authentic person who lives their life true to who they are. It's hard to find people like that. The good ones who really just embody, and it's just so obvious. They're comfortable in their skin. They speak their truth. They do the things they love. They know themselves. They love themselves, treat themselves, laugh at them, blah, blah, all the things, right? It's hard to find the real ones the older I get. And so I also think it's easier and easier these days, especially in a life of being a creator and around a lot of influencers and social media people, that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this place. And life is too short to just put up a front, to not be yourself. It's too difficult to live a life that isn't being you. One of the funniest things to me is when I meet people, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been watching you on social media for years. You are exactly the way I expected. And I'm like, thank God. Who else should I be? Someone else? Say what you mean and do what you say. But it goes beyond being authentic to who you are and being the real you. It's also, stick to your word. I don't know why this is so hard for people to both stick to their word and actually say the thing. I was recently in a situation in which someone didn't want to hurt my feelings because somebody didn't like me and didn't want to hang out with me, but she was going to hang out with her. And so it was this whole convoluted thing where it was just she didn't want to tell me about that. So I was wondering if we were all going to hang out. And right, I'm just like, why didn't you just tell me that she didn't like me and that's why we didn't all hang out? Then I wouldn't have been confused. It wouldn't have been I don't need these double meanings or oh, well, I would have thought between the lines you would understand that, or I didn't want to hurt your feelings, or it's more confusing in the end. Say what you mean, be honest about situations, because then it can just be more straightforward in the end. I'm I actually wish I don't even know if my feelings would have been hurt. I probably wouldn't have cared, but I would rather have known the truth than just been like, what the heck is happening over these like 6 days? I thought we're all hanging out. Like, this is confusing. And the other thing is, do what you say you're going to do. Like, if you say you're going to show up at blah, 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 show up at blah, blah, blah. Like, why is this so difficult not to? So say what you mean. Do what you say. That's 34. 33, know your circle. I've really learned this, that it's better to have a couple people that truly love you, that you really love spending time with, than to have 100 people surrounding you that don't really care a lot about you, but just, either want to mooch off you or spend time with you or fill in the blank with whatever it is. Quality over quantity has become really important to me. And it goes back to the hold each person that you spend a lot of time with in your heart and ask yourself, is this person in the right seat? Yes or no? So know your circle. And I do everything I can, not to say I never disappoint anyone, but I try very hard not to disappoint my inner circle. So know who the real ones are in your life and love them and hold them dear and make sure they know how you feel about them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. 32. You have a finite number of F's to give. I've learned this time and time again before especially in my 20s, like when I was getting out of college and starting a new career and you're interning, you're trying a million things. Like, you have an endless amount of time and you're willing to give everyone your time. If someone's like, oh, like we should do lunch or coffee or something, like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Or like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain about blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, give me a call, let's do it. Now I'm just like, time is limited and time is precious. And I look at my time very differently now than I used to. Before, it was just like, if someone asks for my time, I want to give back. I want to help you. And to be honest, I still do sometimes. I genuinely love helping people, but if it's within the things I give an F about. The other day, for example, someone that I met over social media wanted, she wanted some help with what she's working on. And I don't have a lot of time these days. And generally, people pay me to consult for things like that. But I was like, no, I'm happy to give her my time because I give an F about helping people to jump out of their previous corporate careers that are draining them and into a lifestyle that they really want and that they can step into being themselves. And so I wanted to help her in that way because it would help her to make that jump. I was clear about the F that I gave, and I was clear that I wanted to give her my time, but it wasn't an unlimited amount of time at the same time. And so I just encourage you to think about how you value your time and where you are willing to give your time, because we have a finite amount of it. And it is the only thing that puts everybody in the world on the same playing ground. We all have just 24 hours in a day. We all just have 60 minutes in that hour, and how you spend it, because you're given the same amount of it that I am in a day, I'm not talking about in a lifetime, is up to you. And so spend it wisely. Know what you care about. Know what you give F's about, so that when it doesn't fall into that category, you don't give an F about that thing, and you will not give that thing your time, effort, or energy. I used to give too many F's in my earlier years. Now I'm getting much more specific about it because I am very clear about what I do care about, and I'm very clear about how I do and do not want to spend my time. That's an important one. 31. No one is watching you, and in fact, most people don't care about you. I especially feel this way about being a creator and doing things like this, creating a podcast that's also on video, or being out in the world talking to my camera and having, I don't know, my average these days are like 300,000 people see my content per month or some arbitrary number like that. But I mean, we become so self-conscious, we become self-conscious about things. And it's like, well, actually, I want you to think about the next time you go out to dinner, who you notice in the restaurant and how much you were focusing on them. Like, let's just bring it to a very simple example. I used to be so worried about what I wore all the time because it's like, oh my gosh, like, what are people going to think? Like, people probably don't even notice the new shoes or the new haircut or the nice nails or the fact that I have not done my nails today, or fill in the blank with whatever it is. No one notices and no one gives more F's about you than you. You care the most, and most people do not care at all. And so if you start giving less F's about the shoulds, I probably should have brushed my hair before I did this. I probably should put on deodorant because I went to Orange Theory this morning. I probably should put on lipstick before I did this podcast, but I didn't. Right? How much of that is coming from shoulds? Like, let it all go. Let it all go. All right. 30. Ready? Let's end on this one. Ooh, you are a reflection. You are a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I knew this to be true forever, but as I get older, I'm starting to notice specific aspects of my life where I have chosen wisely on those 5 people. And so let's just give a couple examples. One is, if you know me, you know I love playing pickleball. A lot of people ask, how did you get good at pickleball so quickly? Oh, you must have played tennis, racket sports, racquetball, maybe ping pong. Like, oh, you're really good with your paddle. No, I have no racket sports experience. It's because, well, the number one person I was spending time with was my sister. She's an amazing pickleball player. Like, a million times better than me, not even like 5 times better than me, like at least 136.7 times better than me. She's really good. And I surrounded myself with the people that she plays with. And anytime I wasn't with her, I would always play up. And what that means is I would try to find myself in games where I was the weakest player, where everyone was better than me. And I would surround myself with better players. And then I was very open to feedback. I would ask the strongest player on the court after each game, hey, if you could give me just one tip or a piece of feedback based off of my game that you saw, what would you suggest that I work on? And just be open to whatever they have to say. And maybe I take that advice, maybe I don't, it's not for me. But I got better at pickleball because I spent a lot of time with people who were better. I wasn't going to get better by playing with lower level players all the time, right? And especially as a traveler, because I couldn't regularly be with coaches, it was difficult. So I would just try to find myself in circles with better players. Another one, people are like, oh, I'm so intimidated by you. You've been creating for so long. And I'm like, no. We started at the same time. Like, I started talking travel during the worst time to talk travel, which is the pandemic. No one was traveling then. If anything, I was travel shamed. I got a lot of hate during that time. People were like, but how did you get so big? Like, how are you able to speak at conferences, win awards, be, on YouTube's homepage, like, blah, 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 with all the things I've done, right? Which are all cool things. I'm proud of those things. But it was also because I surrounded myself not with creators who were also just starting. I did, I need quote unquote coworkers to chat with because we're on the same level. But I immediately jumped in and tried to work with creators who were significantly better than me. People with an audience of millions of people. Like, what are they doing right? And what can I learn from them? And how can I serve and help them so that they can also serve and help me? Or, I learned how to create amazing underwater content and become better at flying my drone by creating with people like Team One Blue Ocean, right? They're a team of creators who are way above my level, people who own, their photography studios or art studios with their creator work in there because they're that amazing, who shoot for National Geographic, who sell their photography for a lot of money. I want to be creating with those people because the 5 people you spend the most time with, it will be a reflection of yourself. And I wanted a better reflection of myself. So going back to the people that you keep in your life, hold them near and dear. Tell them how they make you feel. I'm immediately after this going to go send a note to a couple people. Let them know how thankful I am to have them in my life. And I encourage you to do the same. Whew. All right. This was the first 10. I'm approaching 40. I'm excited for it. 40 years young. It's going to be good. It's going to be an amazing decade. What am I most excited for in my 40s? I don't know. Play pickleball, probably. All right, if you felt something, if you learned something in today's podcast, please connect with me. I'm at Christine Lozada everywhere. If you write a review about this podcast, it really does help to distribute it to more people. And share this with someone if you think they might find it valuable. And in the meantime, go forth, be badass, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Ciao.